Beautiful Kung Fu. Are forms any use? Hey everybody, this is Vincent Tseng, the Wandering Warrior. Now today we're going to be talking about Taolu. First off, in Wushu, or martial arts, Quan Su, Chinese boxing, in the Hokkien language called kuntao, clenched fist, all of these use Taolu. Now, Taolu are often translated as forms or sequences, and they are choreographed martial dances or movement routines that are encapsulating the movements and concepts of a particular martial arts style or system. Now, I said beautiful Kung Fu, and I'll admit my Taolu aren't really all that good looking. While my performance of them is definitely not picture perfect, that perfectionism and aesthetic is really highly sought after in the modern expression of Chinese martial arts. This is so much so that the People's Republic of China actually invented the martial arts inspired Wushu performance art. It's a sport and it's a cross between traditional Taolu practice and acrobatics. Granted, maybe there's nothing wrong with that per se, but then you can't really be calling it a martial art. Clearly, we can see that Taolu themselves aren't fighting. So the practical-minded practitioner of Chinese boxing, Quan Su, kuntao, should reject them in favor of more immediately useful training methods, right? Yet, Taolu persist. So aside from the Chinese cultural quirks influenced by Rujia 思想, Confucianism, giving value to old things, lineages, connecting you to an illustrious ancestor, what's useful about them? These forms, these sequences, these Taolu. Well, they can be practiced solo. While most practical martial arts training is done in a group setting, at least paired, at least two people, these can be practiced solo. And while they don't teach you fighting, they do help you build certain attributes. They're also low impact. Some are practiced slow, some are practiced at a methodical pace, some are dictated by a certain breathing pattern with Neigong elements to them. These are practices that help your internal health, fascial activation, and bracing your body for strain. So low impact is great, especially if you have to take a day off from sparring or from heavy lifting. It keeps you active. They are, at the end of the day, oftentimes combinations of techniques. These are the techniques prescribed or suggested for use recommended by your system, your style, because they work within the framework and tactics of this system. And speaking of tactics, the way in which the techniques are expressed in the form are often expressed in a way that portray the ideal execution of the preferred tactics of the system. These, of course, come from the context of this martial art. And as you go through these movements, you refine your postures, your structure, and your understanding of the fighting frame of your system. So you further ingrain that within your body so that it becomes second nature. It's not something that you have to think about doing. It just becomes something that you do because you spend enough time moving this way. It changes who you are, and it changes how you fight. And therefore, as you dive deep into them over time, if you're doing it with the right intentions, you can increase your body intelligence, your awareness internally, and your coordination. And speaking of internal mechanics, with the right intention, you can be working on optimizing your movements, your frames, your structure, your power generation while you practice these forms. And not to be forgotten, work your fascial connections. It's also a visualization aid. When you go through this form and you imagine the enemy in front of you, it's a ritual of violence. It's supposed to activate that aspect of your animalistic, violent, barbaric nature. Still, none of these directly impart fighting skills. You need to get strong, you need to become dexterous, you need to become athletic, you need to become experienced in the skills and tactics of actual fighting. Yet, sometimes we do find ourselves alone and not with our training group. Sometimes you have days off, right, from lifting or heavy sparring or whatever. Sometimes you're recovering from injury, but you're still able to move. You want to move around, but you don't want to hurt yourself. And hey, think back a few years ago amidst the pandemic, we all learned what it was to be stuck at home with nothing to do. The ability to drill and rehearse things alone is suddenly critical so that your skills don't completely go to shit. Now, obviously, forms, Taolu, they can never replace training with a whole team, being in the talent pool with the skill, the grit, the experience. Now, assuming you're actually putting in the work to become a fighter, then Taolu can actually give you a low impact way to practice some of these things alone or paired with a partner. And so to my mind, it should be treated as a component, a supplement to the more immediately practical aspects of training, but it isn't the main goal of training, and I don't think it ever should be. It encapsulates your system, but it's not what makes you a good fighter. Essentially, Taolu allow you to embody the frames and movements of a fighting system, develop the body awareness and the full recruitment of your internal body mechanics, and can spiritually charge your violent side if your intentions are right while you practice it. And it's done in a way that follows the footsteps of your martial ancestors in a lineage of transmission. And yeah, it can even be aesthetically pleasing, as any core part of a Sinaitic folk religion celebration should be. You know, that's where the culture meets the fighting. That's where it's martial and an art. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was just my thoughts on Taolu. I used to really dislike practicing Taolu. It's very impractical. I'm not even good at it. That said, I have since started to appreciate it in certain aspects at certain phases of my training. Like I said before, despite its plethora of benefits, it's not fight training. So you should fight, you should spar, you should drill, you should play war games, you should condition yourself, you should improve your resiliency, you should wrestle, you should box, you should do all of that stuff. But provided you do, Taolu have their place. That said, you guys may have noticed on Instagram that I have been in full affiliation and collaboration with Kung Fu Combat, and that is me and my friend Joseph Levitas' initiative and project to bring high quality martial arts consulting and training to the traditional martial arts, bridging the gap between Kung Fu and the fight sports. Despite all of life's financial obstacles, I will be starting my business soon, and I will be releasing online courses so you guys can learn from my journey. This will include things like Changquan, long fist, Tan Toi. I know you guys have been asking for that. Springing legs, staff fighting, spear fighting, saber, so on and so forth. If you guys enjoyed this video, got something out of it, please let me know down below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Press that bell icon so you can get these notifications. If you'd like to become a patron on my Patreon, I would genuinely appreciate that. The link is down below. Thank you so much. And I think that's all for announcements. Thank you guys so much for following me on my journey. Aslu yours. Peace.